The last seed, growing hope in barren soil. A story of farmer. In a small village nestled at the edge of a vast desert, the land had once been fertile and abundant. But years of relentless drought had turned the soil to dust, and the rivers had dried up. The villagers, once full of hope, now lived in despair. Crops failed, livestock perished, and the people struggled to survive. Many packed their belongings and left, whispering that the village was cursed. But one man, Kofi, refused to give up. Kofi was a farmer, just like his father and grandfather before him. He had spent his entire life tending to the land, and he couldn't bear to see it die. One evening, as he sat on his porch, he held the last seed he had saved, a tiny, fragile thing that seemed to hold the weight of the world within it. His wife, Amma, approached him, her face lined with worry. "Kofi," she said gently, "that's the last seed we have. If it doesn't grow—" Kofi interrupted her, his voice steady but firm. "If it doesn't grow, we'll plant another, and another, until the land remembers its purpose." The next morning, Kofi walked to the center of his barren field. The villagers watched as he knelt in the dry, cracked soil and carefully planted the seed. A young boy named Kwame, who had grown up knowing only drought, ran up to him. "Uncle Kofi," Kwame said, his voice filled with doubt, "why are you wasting that seed? Nothing grows here anymore." Kofi smiled softly and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Because, Kwame, if we stop believing in the land, we stop believing in ourselves." Days turned into weeks, and Kofi tended to the seed with unwavering dedication. He carried water from the nearly dry well, pouring every precious drop onto the tiny patch of soil. The villagers shook their heads, some mocking his efforts, others simply pitying him. One night, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The wind howled, and for the first time in years, rain began to fall. It started as a drizzle, then grew into a downpour. Kofi stood outside, letting the rain soak his face, feeling as though the heavens themselves were answering his prayers. The next morning, the village awoke to a miracle. Kofi's field, once barren and lifeless, now held a single green sprout, tiny but defiant, reaching toward the sun. The villagers gathered around, their disbelief turning to awe. Kwame was the first to speak. "It grew! Uncle Kofi, it grew!" Kofi knelt beside the sprout, tears streaming down his face. "This is just the beginning," he said. Inspired by Kofi's faith, the villagers began to work together. They dug new wells, built irrigation systems, and planted their own seeds. Slowly but surely, the land began to heal. Fields turned green, trees bore fruit, and the village came back to life. Years later, Kofi stood in the middle of a thriving field, holding a handful of seeds. He looked out at the horizon, where the sun now seemed to shine with warmth rather than cruelty. "The land remembers," he whispered to himself. Moral of the story: even in the harshest conditions, hope and perseverance can bring life back to the barren soil. Never stop believing in the power of faith, hard work, and the resilience of the human spirit. Do like, share, and subscribe for more motivational content.